I'm Callie Wave, and this is my drawing of a D&D character idea I had. I started out by uploading my original sketch into a program. This is probably the last time I do this for a while, since I like changing the poses to be more dynamic compared to the original sketch or sketches most of the time. But for this one, I wanted to do a simpler composition since this was my first time using the tablet and program together, even before doing my profile pic, which is the video before this. So this was kind of a cozy test run for me. The idea I had for this was a still, quiet scene that was a moment in time, since this character is supposed to be by herself in the woods. I did end up doing another sketch in the program, mainly because I knew some of the anatomy was a bit off when I did the original sketch, and I wanted to adjust it before I did the line work. I also knew beforehand I was going to struggle with the eye shape, so I tried to make sure I had that down before the line work as well. And the hands I was going to do, but that ended up being a later Callie problem anyway. Hands are hard. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. And once I was done with the sketch, that's when I started doing the line work. I had some trouble with the line work, mainly because I was barely pressing the pen. This is a long-term habit that was drilled into me in art school, because when I started, I was told I was pressing down way too hard. It would be like really dark and really heavy movement that I used to do. So I basically was trained to just work significantly lighter, like barely touching the paper. And granted, for traditional mediums, having that light hand is great because you can work your way through how light or dark you want something, how vivid you want something. But for this kind of line work, these brushes work more like pens because they're pressure sensitive and the line thickness. And since I haven't used pens for my artwork in years, I'm just not used to it yet. Personally, I just prefer pencils over pens. For traditional mediums, but that's because I can erase pencil, especially if I'm sketching, while pen is not as forgiving and is harder to correct. So this is why you see me going through and doing the lines multiple times and erasing the lines' thickness. In hindsight, I should have made my pen brush smaller, but that's okay. I learned it for next time, and I changed my brushes later anyway. So I don't have this problem as much anymore. So here I am continuing fixing my line art and filling in the gaps at the bottom of the cloak. Doing that is worked out very well for this because I would have easily fixated on it too much, and I tried to be perfect with it when in reality a more rough line makes it more ragged and run down like I wanted it to be. And then during this process, I'm trying to be conscious of line thickness as well as I'm doing it. Because even like a little bit of difference in thickness can give a lot more weight to a line than you really want, or have it not be light enough. So that's what I'm doing for part of this as well. So after I get these sleeves in and done, I start working on the hands. And of course, when I first did them, I had done them incorrectly. I put the thumb on the wrong side because mentally I was thinking, oh, the thumb's gotta be on the inside. It's not. It's on the outside because my hands are turned up. So that was an oopsie. I ended up fixing it here. And again, the hands I really struggled with, partially because of the angle, but also because I wanted them to be relaxed and have one on top of the other. And that is not the easiest thing to do. In hindsight, I should have done studies on hands to get myself familiar with the shape of them again. But instead, I ended up doing it here, which is good for you guys because you get to see what this process was in real time. Well, not really real time, it's sped up, but you get my point. And this took a lot of layers and trial and errors for me to figure this out, because part of a struggle with art is actively learning to separate your visual association with something while you're trying to draw it, especially if it's a completely different angle than what your visual is. Because in this case, I kept wanting to keep the palm straight because I'm used to having it straight. But because it's cupping, the hands are cupping, your palm does contract and curve a little bit. So I had to mentally just keep adjusting and fixing it. Because I kept being like, no, it doesn't feel right. And it's because I kept visualizing it as just a straight line instead of it being slightly curved like it needed to be. So once I determined the hand gesture, I realized that the sleeves were a little bit too long for my liking. So I quickly fixed that. And then also I realized I forgot the tunic. So then I quickly put that in as well. And then I start going in and working out the legs, which was a nice break from the complexity of the hands and the upcoming changes to the feet, because I ended up changing the feet in this. And I ended up doing the same thing I did with the cloak, making the bottom of the pants a little bit more straggly as well and very worn out too. Then I started the feet, which ended up having a similar process layer-wise to the hands because my initial sketch didn't feel anatomically correct anymore. And that's because throughout the line work, I kept asking myself, is this right? Like, anatomically, does this feel right? And there are multiple points, and I cut this out for time purposes, where I had to stop and I would actively do the pose of my chair and try to figure out the positioning by either looking and or feeling. And in this case, I realized my foot would be farther back under and against the leg. So that's where the adjustment came in. I still don't think I did it fully correctly, but I am happy with the result. So I messed with that a bit more. And then I moved on to adjusting both the arms and the legs. A little bit after this. Yeah, right here. And I wanted this because I wanted the arms to be resting down, and when I initially sketched this, I had them up, which for this I didn't really want because that would be like her like lifting them physically and activating her core, which while an interesting pose, I wanted a more calmer pose, so I wanted them resting. So then I just quickly adjusted that there. And then I jumped around fixing and adding various things that I forgot to draw initially, which is not really forgetting, but more me being so focused on certain points that that I neglected other spots. Like the cloak, for example, I didn't remember to consider how it was supposed to close. I just had the two sides there. It's like, yeah, done. So I ended up quickly doing that here. And what I mean by quickly is, it didn't take me that long, as you can see. Because now I've just started working on the eyes. And these eyes I do struggle with a little bit, partially because I wanted to make sure they had the shape right, since the head is tilted and looking down as well. And I also realized I needed the eyelids because they are looking down, but those get added in a little bit. Then after all that, I zoom back out and look at it and go, that ain't right. It's not at all. I accidentally gave her an alien head. So I ended up shortening the face, then the head and the hood, all of basically about the same time. And that took a little bit to make sure that it was right. Which can be a struggle when you're trying to make sure that the proportions are correct. And I did a little adjustment, and then I started adding in the background. Or I guess more accurately, I started to do the background, and then made the horrible discovery that I forgot the flame! My light source! Which is awful, because it was way too early to forget the light source at this point. Anyway, after that debacle was taken care of, I went on to do the background and did my base coloring, which you see me picking here. And since this part doesn't need much explaining, I thought I could use this time to talk about this character, or OC, if you will. Forgive me, I'm not used to saying that word yet. So I've never played D&D. I was involved. I ended up hanging out with a bunch of guys that were playing it at one point, but I wasn't in the campaign at all. I just happened to be there. And that's like the closest I've had of an experience to being part of a D&D campaign. is more just being like someone that was just watching it. Which I have been watching more campaigns on YouTube as of late. Legends of Adventurous is the one that comes to mind. My boyfriend's really into that one. So there was a point where I was like, if I were to make a D&D character, what would I do? So I came up with this concept of this girl, she's like in her 20s-ish. She doesn't look it. She's, kind of naive and very forgetful. Like, she doesn't remember much about her past at all. Like, all that she remembers is being thrown out of the house and ostracized by her family. And that was pretty much it. And she ends up going on this adventure with some people and just hangs out with them. And she has this ability to conjure up a flame. And that's her source of comfort and stability. And that's basically all I got from it. Like, that was the concept itself. And that's what basically was the inspiration for this. Because I'm like, what would she look like? So then I started messing with the idea and then made the quick sketch. And now we're here. So anyway, now I'm working on the shading, and I did struggle with that nose. I could not figure that out. Like, I wasn't sure if I wanted it all to be there or not, the shadow itself, because it's more of a button-ish nose. And then I decided against it and started finagling with the shadows more. And go back to the nose again, because I am very indecisive. And I ended up settling on a small shadow. And I think it worked out very well for this. I am realizing now that I've talked about it, how I unintentionally made this character very similar to myself. Not with the family abandonment thing, but just how I feel in general. There have been points in my life where I felt very alone and isolated. And I guess that just kind of came out because when I made this idea, it was like very late at night. And if I remember correctly, it was a time when I couldn't sleep. You'll see in the future, that happens a lot. It'll be like 3 a.m. and it's like, I don't know what to do, I can't sleep, and then I'll quickly sketch something, and then go back to sleep. I don't know why it works. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And for this one, I think it's because for so long, like, I'm in a very good relationship now, but for the longest time, I didn't have, like, a ton of friends or anything, or any that felt genuine. Like, looking back now, a lot of the ones that I had in high school, and that's the unfortunate reality, a lot from them from high school won't work out. And that's okay. Part of it is growing, part of it's doing different things. It's not the biggest deal. It's just in my case that a lot of them just weren't as close to me as I hoped they would be. And that's okay. I ended up finding people that fit better with my personality and are a lot better people than who I had. In regards to my family, I feel kind of like a black sheep, almost. I have a lot of mental stuff. I'm not gonna get into it. I'm okay. Like, I'm fine now, but I had some traumatic experiences in my past, and I've been working through it since, like pre-pandemic. I've been working through them, and I've grown a lot, but it also has made me feel kind of isolated and alone a little bit, because I've had to focus on myself so much that I wasn't able to keep a lot of the connections and a lot of people because of what who was connected to traumatic experience. I had to cut out a lot of people in my life too. So I felt lonely then too. So I think that's part of why this D&D character idea kind of came up in my head and just stuck. Because I think I just related to it very much. I feel like a lot of people can relate to loneliness too, like, especially during the pandemic era, like, so much, like, we were just all isolated for the most part, and the lack of connection happened, and I think we're all still building from that and trying to recover from that, even though it's 2026 now, so from the beginning of it, it's been almost 6 years. But I think we're getting better. I'm hopeful for the future. So anyway, after I finished this tree and did a little bit more of the background, I almost forgot about the flame again. I think it's because it was on a separate layer. That's the only thing I could think of as to why I kept forgetting about it. Because I think it's because I was focusing so much on her herself and then the background that I kept forgetting that the flame was in front of it, because I purposely kept it as a separate layer, partially because I didn't know if I wanted to keep it in that place, but also because that is the light source. And it's just so frustrating to forget layers. I did this in another one that's going to be coming out in the future, and it's just bothering me so much. I'm like, why do I keep forgetting layers? I don't know. It just keeps happening. I'm losing my mind here. Granted, I lost it a while ago, but I need to lose more. Like, come on. Can we please remember our layers? I labeled them and everything, and I still forgot about it. So then after this, I was messing with the lighting, and I wasn't sure how I wanted to do the lighting. Initially, I thought about doing, like, specific glows in certain places, but then instead I just opted to do the candlelight kind of glow, because I feel like that would work better for this, and the only kind of lighting that I did was in the eyes for the reflection, because the eyes are more watery, and so they reflect a lot more and a lot sharper than the skin would. And then I forgot to add more of the background in, because I wasn't I knew I was gonna make it dark, like darker, because I didn't want it to make it a tranquil scene. I wanted to feel like an isolated scene with a kind of like a comfort blanket, which is what the flame is kind of a representation of, is a sign of comfort. So then I do all this background, the trees, and I end up covering most of them up, because I wasn't sure what I wanted to do 100% with the background. I wasn't sure if I wanted to make it just dark, or if I wanted to make it foggy, kind of like what the dark gray is there. I ended up settling for making it all black, basically, and then making it a lot darker. And you'll see here, I end up doing a different technique for filling in the color for this. It was just a lot faster. Then I didn't have to worry about the outline. I don't think I even go back to doing this after this. Like, I think in the next one I was just using, like, the lasso tool and to do it instead. So, I'm learning. We're getting there. We'll find faster ways in the future. If you have any suggestions, I'm open to them. You can comment them down below. And here is where I start making it super dark all around. And I added in the grass, and that was it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And please leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!
Boop! You enjoying your food, Onyx Bean?
I just gave her food in the middle of recording this. But she's just on the pile. She just always sits on the pile and eats it. It's the cutest thing. If I could get a photo, I'll put it here.